Hello YouTube, Charles coming at you here with a very quick video and update. I'm very much working against the clock right now. And you might be asking why that is. Well, first things first, today is the 30th of May, and I got this pistol in, the Tisas Raider, their clone of the M45A1. Now, not only did I just get this in today, but I'm also tonight, I'm very much, again, racing against the clock right now. I am going to an emo/goth party. I will be dressing up, acting sad, morose, depressed, and I've been invited by some very pretty girls, and I'm going to assume your gender right now through my analytics tab and assume most of you are male, but I'm going to assume that most of you also don't talk to girls and don't know what they are. And so my advice would be, if you get invited by pretty girls to a goth emo party, you should go and stage your guns and ammo in your car, your new one especially, so that when you go to the range tomorrow, you might still be dressed as an emo goth. But you'll be able to test your very brand new Tisas Raider, which is exactly what we have in front of us. All right. Let's go ahead and start with the actual substance of this video with the Tisas Radar, get our initial impressions. Very quickly, I ordered this on Memorial Day this year, 4 days ago on Monday. They had, obviously, they had Monday off. The order went out and was shipped, basically Tuesday, and got here Wednesday, Thursday. I think, actually, no, it shipped Wednesday. Thursday was in transit, got here Friday. So today's the 30th. Again, doing this video very quickly because, again, I'm going to an emo goth party with some pretty girls. All right, I've gone ahead and pre-staged some discussion points. So here is the shipping label. The total price of acquisition, just a few hours ago when I walked out of the store having paid the transfer fee, the final cost of acquisition, was $625. Compare that to the Colt Custom Shop's CQB pistol, basically the closest thing in new production that you can get to the original M45A1. MSRP is at $2,500, 4 times the cost. 1/4 the cost will get you this handgun. Most of you also know that I am out to collect every single service arm that the United States ever is using and has ever used, going back to Jamestown. So with the M45A1 being the last closing chapter, the last twilight in the U.S. military's use of the M1911 handgun, it's therefore very relevant to my collection. And also I have here a 250 dinar note from Iraq. This is a gift from a student. Her family specializes in helping Christian refugees who are being targeted and abused come here to America. So this was a very cool sort of little knick-knack or gift. If you're a teacher, you're going to get gifts if you're good and the kids like you, and their families too. And I was a good teacher. I'm no longer one anymore because I'm getting my MBA, and I got this at the end of my second semester as a good boy gift for myself. Moving onwards to the video, you can see overall, upon opening the box, the presentation is pretty good. Not extremely high quality, but not very bottom of the barrel, bare bones either. Some other companies ship their pistols in very bare bones boxes. And compared to my previous 1911, this is my third 1911. This is my second one here. This is also a Tisas. This is the B45R, the Duty, also a 5-inch 1911. You can see, I'm pretty sure both of these guns are made on exactly the same machinery and then just cosmetically finished a little bit differently. There are some other minor differences that we'll go over in the course of this video. Comparing the two boxes, again, just one beside the other, I can tell that the the Tisas Raider does not include an extra set of grips, just the takedown tool. In the B45R, it came with that extra, takedown tool at the bottom there, but also an extra pair of grip panels. This is a smooth plastic compared to this is a rubber grip on the gun, and you can see it is also, I have put on a TLR1HL Streamlight there. And so let's go ahead and begin comparing these two. They have the same brush. They have practically the same cleaning rod. But for the sake of time, because again, I've got pretty girls on my mind, let's go ahead and begin comparing these two handguns side by side. Some people like to start and go tip to butt. I'm going to go aft to front. So looking at the back here, I am pretty certain the sights are identical. Those are Novak 3 dots. They're not tritium, but I believe that is proper to the original M45A1. The hammer and the ambidextrous safeties appear to be identical. The B45R has duty stamped underneath the rear sights, behind the serrations and underneath the rear sight. And a little eagle there in motion, whereas the Tisas Raider does not. Also presenting itself as a difference is the difference in grips and trigger. The Tisas Raider has a non-skeletonized full trigger. It's got serrations in the front. The B45R has a skeletonized silver aluminum trigger. Also got serrations. But the grips are obviously different as well. As I just mentioned earlier, these are rubber grips, sort of in the same pattern of the classic checkered diamond grips of the 1911, and the M45A1 clone, the Tisas Raider, has G10 grips. I believe these are G10 grips. They appear to be the right color from what I can tell. They have nice grippy texture, and this one also has a thumb relief cut into it so that you can access the magazine release better. Now, again, it's a little awkward behind the camera always. For me, even with this, and I've safety checked everything before shooting this video, by the way. But let's go ahead and appease the safety Nazis. There's nothing in the magazine, right? We'll talk about the mag in just a moment. Excuse me. But the trigger on this one, let's go ahead and test the trigger. First off, the safety works, feels identical to the B45R. Let's go ahead and go for trigger pull. This one has not been taken apart or cleaned or oiled in any way, by the way, out of the box. Oh, you know what? Oh, interesting. Okay. That might be causing me issues here. All right, let's go ahead and rip that off so you can see this. Again, this is a true unboxing and unstickering. Smokes. Eek. I'm going to have to get that out in a little bit. Okay, testing the trigger. It's a single stage trigger, in case you can't tell. Oh. It's got a nice break to it. It's got a little bit of take up. It's got just the tiniest little slop in the trigger. A little bit of take up, and then it's very nice though, especially coming from a Glock and striker fired pistols. A single stage 1911 trigger, even one that hasn't been worked on, is very, very nice. But let's continue with the differences. As I mentioned, I can also tell, we talked about trigger, we talked about magazine release, differences in grips, safety, hammer is identical. Moving over to the starboard side of the gun, everything again looks pretty similar. Underneath, we have a difference in the, both of them actually have these, again, I think they're identical except for cosmetic finish. They have a flat mainspring housing, but the Tisas Raider, true to the M45A1, has a lanyard loop. I suppose that's per the U.S. military's specifications. Moving again, starboard side of the gun. One difference that presents itself is the B45R has the, you can see activating the light there, has the, what do you call this? The slide release takedown lever in a sort of recessed flush, it's in a recessed well and made flush with the surface so that it does not obtrude incredibly much compared to the rest of this face of the pistol. You can also see I think this pistol was made in 2024, and it was probably the 3,607th pistol made in Knoxville, Tennessee. At least that's what the markings lead me to think. Whereas the Tisas Raider, and you can see it's got Raider underneath the ejection port here. Both of them have 45 ACP over on the top of the barrel here. The Tisas Raider, first things first, this is going to be ARFCOM's, a beloved pistol by ARFCOM, because I'm pretty sure this Raider was the 87th one made in the year 2025. So how cool is that? So this pistol will certainly be beloved by ARFCOM. But A difference between the B45R and this one, again, is the lack of the sort of well for the slide release takedown lever. It's got a little US milled into the side there. The Raider does, whereas the B45 does not. I assume the rail is the same, but again, I'm not sure if this will, I mean, I'm thinking about this. I'm not sure if this will present itself as a reliability issue. This may be correct to the whatchamacallit, the B45, the M45A1. Looking underneath the gun, again, I'm pretty sure the rails are identical, but I'm noticing very quickly, if you look at the Tisas Raider, on either side, there appear to be additional ergonomic cuts underneath the magazine release area. You can see it's sort of a triangular, like a tear-shaped triangular face there and there on either side here. Again, just casting my very fine eye at this, whereas it is not present here on the B45R. I've put several hundred rounds through this handgun. I've never noticed any real issue, but I'll be able to shoot this one tomorrow. And again, I may end up being still messed up from the party and going to the gun range dressed as an emo or goth. So stay tuned. That may be me tomorrow. And I'm going to test this sucker for reliability because, as you can see, I have several hundreds of rounds of FMJ. I've gone whole hog, by the way, whole hog into the 1911 with my, you can see my mag case here. I've got the 10 round Chip McCormick, excuse me, not the Chip McCormick's, the Wilson Combats. These mags, utterly reliable in the B45R with hollow points. Very impressed. I will render my comments on the 1911 as a platform in a little bit because, again, I'm very pressed for time. So let's go ahead and cover ground, shall we? So we have a slight difference in ergonomic cuts underneath here. And pretty much everything as we move forward is, I'm pretty sure, identical. We have the same, again, same stampings, 45 ACP over the barrel. I'm pretty sure we have the same front sights there. And we have the same, identical except for cosmetics, front slide serrations. Again, these are empty, but let's go ahead and give you the sort of gun wielder's threat there. 245 barrels just sticking out at you. That's a threat. How many people can wield 1911s akimbo? Ah, feels good to be an American, right? Wielding two Turkish 1911s. Now, last difference between the two, before I move on to my first 1911 and begin comparing them. This is probably a managerial accounting decision, but I've noticed that the two mags that come with the Tisas Raider are different from the two mags that come with the B45R, at least back in 2024. I believe, again, this may be a managerial accounting decision based off my what I'm studying at school. Now, here's what I'm looking for. The B45R also came with two mags, and they are Mekgar, as you can see there. Very cosmetically pleasing magazines. You can tell it's incredibly shiny, well finished. Very reliable. I've had very few to no issues with my Mekgar magazines here, the two that came with the B45R. Made in Italy, which is why I suspect it was a, there you can see there the stamping is made in Italy. I suspect it was a business decision. But here are the new mags that came with the Tisas Raider. You can see, let me compare side by side. The Mekgar and the Tisas Raider, I suspect these mags are made in-house. They don't appear to have any identifying stamps. Just has a, there we go, patented. These witness holes, I believe, are more true to the GI originals. I don't know if you guys can tell me much, or, I'm not a true 1911 guy, but there may be or there may not be significant differences in geometry. Right. But one thing that's definitely a little different, besides the quality of the finish, is the base plate. The Mekgar magazines have a less thick base plates compared to the amount that protrudes at the bottom here. These are more Wilson Combat style. I suspect perhaps they went that way to give yourself a little more purchase if you're trying to strip out a stuck mag. It may give you a little more to purchase to yank on. It also, I suspect, may be a little bit more durable if you're dropping them, say, on a hard surface and they land base down on the concrete or the asphalt, whatever, compared to the Mekgar. That's speculation. I don't know for certain. I am rather remiss that they didn't keep the Mekgars. I think they're better looking mags. They have a history of working very well for me. And at this point, as I just alluded to, I have quite the number of 1911 magazines. I have Mekgar, I have Wilson Combat, different varieties, and of course my prized are my 10-rounders, right? And this is where my B45R usually lives. Because this pistol, the Tisas Raider, is more relevant to my collections, and it should theoretically have pretty much identical performance, this pistol may now be redundant, so I may liquidate this pistol. That remains to be seen. I've only sold one other handgun, or excuse me, one other firearm in my entire collection, my entire history of collecting. I've only sold one. But now this one is redundant, so I may very well do that. Now that I have 3 1911s, one of which is a GI model, a Norinco GI 1911A1, compared to 2 Turkish, I have no American-made 1911s. The Norinco was actually my first. I bought this when I was 23. I think I was... Yeah, okay, I was 23 when I bought this pistol. And for this to be my first 1911, one of my first handguns, being Chinese myself, I am the descendant of Chinese immigrants, this is just a meme-worthy purchase, in my opinion. So here we go, right? It's a genuine article. There's the the original safety manual in Chinglish, right? Let's go ahead. Here's the original styrofoam, right? And yes, I safety checked this. No, I still have the cleaning rod. It's somewhere downstairs. I wasn't able to find it in time to do this, to create this video, because I am under a severe time crunch right now. Let's keep moving forward with the content. Again, you can see dirty styrofoam, original brush, original magazines. These are 7 rounds original Norinco magazines. I believe these are basically clones of the USGI. You can see the witness holes there. Again, I don't know if you guys can tell me much, if anything. Some of you are probably true experts who can tell me everything, right? This is a copy of that. That's a copy of that. All right, so the Norinco model of the 1911 45 automatic. Norinco's stamping there. Made in China by Norinco, CSI, imported through Ontario, Canada. This is an absolute meme pistol for me. It also only cost me $500, right, in when I was 23. This is a $625 gun, and that's a $520 gun. You could add all of these pistols up and still not, the dollar value, and still not get to... the MSRP of the Colt CQB, right there, M45A1. Let's again go aft to front for the sake of time. Standard plastic brown grips, arched mainspring housing. I prefer that. I like, for me, the 1911 naturally points low with the flat mainspring housing. I like having that arched mainspring housing to give me a little extra tip upwards. And the other thing is, if you spend all day shooting a 1911, your hands are sweaty, expect rust to form in the grooves here. The grip safety is USGI, does not have the extended swoop of the beaver tail there. The hammer is USGI profile. The safety is non-ambidextrous. For me, that's actually not that big of a deal. I am a right-handed shooter. I can shoot pretty well left-handed because I'm interestingly somewhat ambidextrous on a number of different tasks. But for me, since I'm mostly right-handed, having this little itty-bitty safety that kind of actually is definitely a blister warning. It's kind of small and digs in right there. It's not very pleasant, but If you're a USGI and this is simply the handgun that you have, that you've been issued with and that you're carrying around, having that little blister in your muscle memory may not necessarily be a bad thing if you're relying on your life. If you're relying on this pistol to, as Ian McCollum says, be a replacement for your bayonet. Another quick difference there compared to an actual USGI is the 3-dot front and rear sights. Norinco, interestingly, put 2 white dots back here and a yellow dot up front. The profile is USGI, so they are itsy bitsy tiny. But the 3 dots there compared to a USGI, I'm willing to bet are very helpful. I have myself not handled a USGI 1911 for more than 30 seconds. Personally, I've never shot one, but I have YouTube friends who I shoot with that have, and what they tell me is this particular one, the Norinco 1911A1 model of the 1911A1, is very comparable to a World War II production USGI. If you blindfolded them and asked them, handed them one Norinco, one USGI, they would be very hard-pressed to tell the difference. The trigger on this is heavier than the other two, but it breaks a little bit. It's not a glass, as Colonel Cooper called it, it's not a pure glass stirring rod that's being broken. You can feel that as you're going, there's a little bit of what I would call a roundedness as you're breaking the trigger. It's not unpleasant, especially coming from a Glock striker fired system, right? I keep my Glocks stock. It's very pleasant, even if it's not a pure glass rod break, and there's a little bit of roundedness. I have several hundred rounds with this pistol now, and I think, again, this one also, again, it's very nice. Takes up, come to the wall. This one does not require, it's not as heavy. It's probably about half a pound, quarter of a pound lighter than the Norinco USGI, but it also likewise has, as you're breaking, it's kind of a, it doesn't have, it's still a little rounded, but the break happens faster, if I'm using my words correctly. Tisas 45, I already did this earlier, but again, I've got all 3 triggers now, so again, this has not been taken apart or cleaned in any way. So it's not as smoothened as the B45R, but it is a little bit lighter. Again, this one's got a little bit of take up. It's also got a shorter trigger. This is probably USGI correct. It's got the idiot scratch, but that was not me. I promise you that. I knew that from day one not to do that. Yeah, this one's a little heavier, but it's got a little bit of slop in the take up. And I prefer, again, arched mainspring housing, but with a longer trigger. This is just way too short for me. But compared to a Glock, almost luxurious. So, my opinion on modernized versus GI Glocks. The modernized one is obviously a superior platform. Just having a rail and being able to add a light increases your options before resorting to lethality in a way that I very much like. 45 does not have enormous recoil, in my opinion, but having more ounces out underneath the muzzle there will help to keep the flip down and get you those follow-up shots faster. That's been my experience with this one. I am still faster with a 9mm, even a small polymer striker-fired 9mm, but again, having that weight there is nice. Okay, I did have a few quick notes here so that I could wrap up quickly. Oh, yes, one I forgot to mention. The Metguard magazines have always worked well in the Norinco. I've only fed ball ammunition, which is predominantly what I have, but since the modernized 1911s present the possibility of using this as a viable defense weapon, I've gone ahead and tested this for federal HST. Standard pressure gets you 900 feet per second. Actually, it gets you about 920, 930 feet per second out the muzzle, 925 around there, which puts you at about the 405, 410 foot-pound club. I do know for a fact 9mm 124 grain at 1100 feet per second out of a carry piece, short barrel, it will get you 333 foot-pounds. So you are still getting a little bit more, and you are about 15% more, I want to say, if my calculations, if I remember right, are correct. Also, you're getting a much larger projectile that probably has more lethality, but let's not get too deep into that. So does the 1911, doesn't even modernized 1911, make sense as a defensive option? My answer is yes, with caveats, with limitations. First things first, 1911s and hollow points have always been, going back to, when they were service arms, have always been a big question mark. Some people say they all fall to hardball, and certainly the 1911 originally developed its reputation entirely on FMJ. That's a fair point to make. I would also argue that we have better, more sophisticated options than launching huge chunks of lead. Although that's certainly, if you can get the rounds on target, that's going to probably be undeniably effective. However, again, the issue of even modernized 1911s with defensive ammunition presents enough of an issue when it comes to testing to steer most people clear away from them if they are a new shooter, right? Unless they're dead set on 1911s, they've always loved 1911s, they have an emotional attachment. If you are a more logical, rational shooter, I think the 1911 and 45 auto, 45 ACP makes a bit less sense, if anything, from a cost perspective. Now, where does it still make sense to have a 1911, right? One, your battery of arms and your lifetime of logistical setups, your supply chain, has been set up for decades, right? 45 years ago, 50 years ago, you learned the 1911, its battery of arms, and you are comfortable with it. You trust your life to it. You may have served with it. You may have, been a police officer with it. And if that's the case for you, I think that's entirely valid. I think switching up mid or late life to go over to 9mm because that's what all the cool kids are doing. I think that's probably not, the juice there may not be worth the squeeze. And so I think the 1911 and the 45 ACP can still render good, faithful duty given that context. If you don't want to change up, your battery of arms after 45 years of, just, day and night duty, I can understand that. Next up, you live in a banned state, like where I come from, Connecticut, and so you are restricted to 10 rounds plus one in the chamber, in which case having a low-capacity handgun like the 1911 makes sense, especially if you click with it. For me, the handgun that I click with are the Glocks, specifically the 9mm. I shoot really well with them. I point very naturally well with them, and so despite the fact that they are ugly as sin, that's my go-to war handgun, are Glocks. And of course, they also have the reputation for reliability, which brings me back to the 1911. They are not nearly as reliable. In previous takes of this, I mentioned that I consider the B45R a 98%, 99% gun. My Glock 19 is a 99% plus gun. So, if you're okay with that disparity in reliability, from just my data, this is just my experience, then it's fine. But if you demand complete and utter reliability, no matter the circumstances, you're going to effing Mars, right, with Elon Musk. And so you demand something that cannot fail under any circumstance, I probably would not go with a 1911. Backing the magnifying glass out to 45 auto in general, does the 45 ACP make sense as a self-defense cartridge? I think absolutely, especially if you still live, like I did, in a banned state. And if you cannot carry, but you are allowed to have a handgun at home, and weight is not an issue, having a gun that's easy to shoot, like a full steel 1911, with legal magazines, 10-round magazines, right, 10 plus 1, a 45, I think that's absolutely fair. If you say, I don't want to hose my target with 9mm or 380 to drop them, I just want to, I'm very confident, just one or two into the center mass with 45, we'll do it. I think that's reasonable. I think that's even sound, right? Because coming from Connecticut, I know for a fact that if you decide to unload a fusillade of rounds at a defender, you are accountable for every single round. If you accidentally injure a bystander, if it skips off the pavement, off a wall, off a lamp post, and strikes something that it's not supposed to, you're still on the hook for that. So I can definitely understand the appeal of firing fewer rounds that are just bigger, right? I can, for not wanting to be in front of that jury in Connecticut, I understand. Now, as a concealed carry piece, in my opinion, a full-size 1911 with a light like this, with even just an 8-round or a 7-round magazine, you realistically, no. It is too big, too honkin' big. It is too stinking big, too stinking heavy, even as a belt gun. I personally would not carry, I would not CC this. I would not concealed carry this. After just, fooling around with it on the range for a day, the idea of putting that in my belt and walking around with it at my new job, at my new internship, is frankly ludicrous. I would choose something else. I've talked a lot at this point. We're at 31 minutes in. I'm going to try and upload this video. And boys, I'm going to an emo goth party tonight, so I wish you all the best. Good night. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it wasn't too bad. Again, apologies for the amateurness, but I'm going to hang with some pretty girls. I'm going to test this pistol tomorrow. You may see me in goth emo garb. I wish you all the very best, and I will see you next time.